Raid then at the Leeuwkop Correctional Prison out in Johannesburg. This is, of course, part of what they're calling Operation-Vala. That mission is to uncover what is banned instruments and substances. This comes after a similar unannounced search, which was recently conducted actually at Cape Town's Goodwood Correctional, as well as Johannesburg South's Sun City Prison. Let's get to that now, where the Deputy Minister is giving an update.
In our correctional centers, all of the things that are not supposed to be in here, things that can be very harmful to offenders, and things which are not supposed to be in here because they undermine the security that the department wants to ensure at any given time at these correctional centers. Operation-Vala has been on now for just over 3 weeks, and we've been getting updates, statistics-wise, of the different things that have been happening in our correctional centers. And I was saying to management this morning that it is very revealing of the actual goings on in our correctional centers that we are aware of usually. Because of the intensity of the reporting, there are incidences which I believe in the normal course of business would not have been brought to our attention, and it helped us have a good picture of what the state of affairs is. I am happy with the commitment of employees and management of the department under the circumstances to be doing what they are doing. We are a department that is executing its responsibilities with very dangerously low levels of human power, of person power, and with what we are able to do, it can only be something to be commended. Of course, the other point is that into the new year, some of these revelations that we got exposed to through this operation, management must seriously plan to make up for the shortcomings that are glaringly evident. For an example, the amount of communication, free communication of the communities inside our correctional centers and the outside world cannot lend itself to secure correctional centers. We've got to find a way of dealing with this matter and dealing with it decisively. The issue about contraband that comes into our correctional centers, we're going to make sure that management discusses very objectively the challenges of our work teams in all of these places, because we can always find good reason to blame and to criticize those who go wrong and do mistakes. But leadership, it's about obviating such problems. We've got to deal with the issues of our workforce in a way that minimizes them, minimizes opportunities of them to want to do other things that we don't want them to do. So these are some of the things that Operation-Vala has exposed to us.
Question and answer. Okay, Minister Makwetla from the SABC. Can you just describe for us what have you found so far at this prison?
As you can see, very strikingly here, the amount of dacha business here, the market is very, active. But not only that, from this table again, you can see that the presence, smuggling of cell phones inside this correctional center, it's also very rife. And these are the things that, of course, you find in other places as well.
But how do they find their way into these prisons, Minister?
Well, it's common cause that they are brought in by, members of the public who are given the privilege to visit their relatives who are here. But some of them, of course, they are brought in, as I have said, by our own employees, because it is business for them. They are able to get money by providing some of these things that the inmates need.
Deputy Minister, you mentioned that some of the information which has come from these regular raids has brought to light some new information which you wouldn't regularly get. Is there anything that you've discovered about the manner in which the dacha business especially is operating based on Operation-Vala?
Not quite, because for us to understand how that business is actually being managed and run, it's crime intelligence work. You need some quiet investigations, and this is a capacity we do not have at this particular time as leadership. It's information that we will get once projects have been registered to do that kind of intense investigation to understand what exactly is the organization behind that kind of market. The issue that I have taken note of as something we may not have necessarily been aware of, it's the rate of attempted suicides in our correctional centers. I took note of that, and I think together with management and the leadership, we are going to have to look at the capacity of social workers that the department is functioning with, meaning access to social workers by inmates. Over and above these social workers assisting in elaborating sentence plans for them, the things they believe we must do with them to help them correct their behaviors, but just on an ongoing basis. The different moods and moments that they encounter that may depress them to a point where some of them attempt to commit
What is the
suicide.
rate?
I cannot give.
Is it low or high?
For me, and it's a personal observation, I was not aware that it is that. For instance, over the last 3 weeks since we started with Operation-Vala, there were 16 attempted suicides. But of course, we are talking 16 attempted suicides in a community that is in 243 centers, 243 prisons. So 16 attempted suicides in 3 weeks. There are so many other centers that there were no attempted suicide, as you can see from the figures. But for me, even that, it's something that we should try and look into.
Last one from me, Deputy Minister. These cell phones that are here, on the outside, it's commonly speculated that inmates are giving instructions to their gang members on the outside to either commit crimes or go attack either gang members. So what happens with these cell phones? Are you going to give them to police to check whether they've been used in those kind of things? Does the Correctional Services come into that at all?
No, that's true. These cell phones are used in all manner of plans and schemes. One of them is that there is a lot of crime committed outside there, which is orchestrated from inside here. These cell phones, among the things that the officers are going to be doing, they know there's collaboration, memorandum of understanding, the way we work with the Department of Safety and Security. They will, from their investigators, go into what information is available in these cell phones.
Deputy Minister, now you've talked about doing these raids and the importance that you do them for.
Just repeat the point.
Doing these raids, how important that it is. But what are you doing to pluck out the holes? Because we're seeing here that there is literally a system where they come through. And also the prisoners who are found with these things are already in prison. So what could happen to them? Isn't the focus be on the people helping them, particularly if it's in also correctional services staff?
Well, there are many things that we do. We have made a call to the general public to say, please do become partners to the Department of Correctional Services. Help us give these people a new outlook to life. Help us get them on the way of rehabilitating themselves and doing things differently. Those who are bringing in contrabands, those who are involved in planning crime with them, they are not assisting us. But that's a societal problem. It's not the battle we can win alone as a department. There are, of course, many things that we do. This activity, you must appreciate the fact that it's possible because of the certain tactics that are presently being used. When you get to be aware and exposed to those tactics and close them down, they will always creatively come up with other ways of achieving the very same objective. So it's an ongoing battle. It's an ongoing battle. These are humans. As I've said, the human spirit is irrepressible. Anyone put against a wall will find a way of surviving and making life comfortable for themselves. So the battle is an ongoing one of the department getting on top of its game as far as these shenanigans are concerned.
Is it a battle you're winning, Minister, or is it a battle you're just putting a plaster on, hoping that next time it doesn't come through? Because if that happens, you'll get another wound somewhere else.
No, it's a battle that we are winning. It's a battle that we are winning in the sense that, you see, the department itself has a system. These things that are here are not going to go unpunished. They may not, some of these activities end up in court as criminal activities, but departmentally there are measures that are going to be taken against those who have been found doing these things, and it affects the grading, their grading as far as privileges that they are entitled to. And the withdrawal of privileges, being declassified, you only need to be inside there and experience it for you to appreciate how effective that practice is.
That's my final point, Deputy Minister. Then, have you, throughout this raid you've been doing, because I believe it's been a couple of years that you've been doing Operation-Vala, have you found any people inside disciplinary hearings against them that have been assisting or have been involved with this kind of...
You mean serial offenders?
No, I mean not ones, one on staff and then one on departmental staff.
Okay.
Have you identified some of them? Has there been disciplinary processes?
Yes.
People been fired, charged?
Yes, we have many times, and the last time I gave the stats that in this financial year about 192 members of this department were dismissed, and I gave the stats of those who were suspended. There are no incidences that we become aware of that management keeps a blind eye on. We are very rigorous when it comes to that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Deputy Minister, we've also discovered during the raid that one of the inmates was found knitting clothes. Amongst the clothes that he was knitting, it was Correctional Services officials' uniforms.
Yeah.
So now that has been established, what's going to happen?
That, of course, was something which everyone, I looked around, management's eyes were popping. They could not understand why would that uniform have been inside there. I would imagine it's one of the things that they are interested, management here of this unit are interested to establish immediately what actually is behind that.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Thanks.
That is, of course, the Deputy Minister of Correctional Services there, Mr. Thabang Makwetla, of course, detailing just that raid that happened out at the Leeuwkop Correctional Prison out in Fourways there in Johannesburg, just around west of Johannesburg, really talking about how he found a bit of marijuana in the cells, as well as cell phones that have been smuggled in. One of the things that worried him was the number of attempted suicides